in those moments when each of us individually need more power. So with that, I am absolutely honored to call up here Lolita Smith, an amazing woman who is an absolute inspiration to her team and to me and to a lot of folks here. So Lolita.
Oh yeah. Okay. Tejal, thank you so much, and Sherry, thanks for those kind words that you shared with Tejal during your ride-along. I remember that day, sitting in my kitchen talking to you. I have my phone in my hand because I shared with quite a few people, we never know where we are or what day it's going to be sometimes when this phone rings, and you never really know what you're going to hear on the other end, and how sometimes that message could really change your life forever. It was May 6th of last year when I was sitting in the lobby at MD Anderson, just there for some routine tests actually, when I got the phone call that changed my life. And I remember like yesterday, because I was sitting there eating a cheeseburger, for those of you that know me, I've always eaten, and watching the news, and the phone rang, and it's Mrs. Smith, this is the hematologist. I'm so sorry, but you have leukemia. And you talk about the life just getting sucked out of you and your world just turning upside down with just one phone call. And I was scared to death. And but let me just give you a piece of advice on what not to do if you ever get bad news. Don't Google. I should not have Googled. But I'm sitting there and I'm mad because I'm like, I already beat cancer. Like, how is this happening again? And so it turns out the chemo that I took just 2 years prior to shrink a tumor that was in my abdomen came with some fine print and actually caused a condition known as MDS, or myelodysplastic syndrome, which caused the leukemia. So needless to say, my world, my family's world, was just turned upside down. But I remember thinking, you have your faith, you have your family, you have your friends, and I really thank God that I had GSK. On May 6th, on that very day, I was immediately admitted to the hospital, and since then I've been admitted to the hospital 15 times. And on that very first night I was admitted, and every single time after that, somebody from GSK was right there with me, literally in that emergency room with me. My med center reps made sure I was fed, coffee, lunch, breakfast. What do you need? What does your husband need? What do the girls need? They're taking my kids to Chuck E. Cheese. Emails from my boss all the time. What can I do for you? Texas is big, if you guys haven't figured that out already. And I received a birthday card on my 40th birthday from every single rep in the state of Texas, wishing me well, encouraging me. There was actually a regional meeting held in Houston on my birthday, which is where I live, and they took the time to stop that meeting and FaceTime me and sing happy birthday to me. And it wasn't how I planned to spend my 40th birthday, but it was just still so memorable. And even the FEPs were away at a meeting, and they recorded a video of themselves singing happy birthday to me. One night I was in my hospital room, and I walked away to get some ice cream, and I came back. I used to be an MSL, for some of you that may know me. There were 2 MSLs in my hospital room that flew in town from Maryland and Florida to just spend time with me just for a few hours. And that's just what GSK does. But the main thing I remember, just reflecting back on this whole year, is how much everybody was there to pray for me. Because this is a group that, they don't just say, I'm gonna pray for you because it sounds like the right thing to say and it sounds nice. They're the ones that call, and when they say, I wanna pray for you, they mean it right now. My dad was bringing me to chemo one day, and there was a manager in Dallas that called. He was calling to check on me and said he wanted to pray with me. He was on speaker, and he did. And my dad looks at me when I hang up the phone. He's like, that's your coworker? And I'm like, yeah, that's how they are every single time. I'm gonna show you some pictures. So the one on the left, that's me, cheesing, no hair. That was about a week before my transplant. And the one on the right is actually the day of my transplant.
And I told Christy earlier, I was like, God, I hope I wasn't working. You see my iPad sitting on my lap. But that I probably was, knowing me. But this is what I really want to share, because this is what GSK does. The reps in Houston literally took over one of the blood centers in Houston at MD Anderson and had an Orange Day event and had a blood drive in my name. Donated blood, donated platelets, and if you've never even heard of that before, it takes 2 hours to sit up to a machine to donate your platelets. And that's what GSK did for me. 2 FVPs from Dallas came down to the blood drive, flew into Houston, came to my hospital room. This was the day before my transplant, just to give me a hug and encourage me and just wish me well. I talk about that phone call I got on May 6th, but I've gotten some other phone calls in my life that have changed my life for the better too. And 13 years ago, when I was working for Boehringer Ingelheim at the time, I saw a 919 area code come across my caller ID, and I stepped out into the hallway at a hospital in Dallas, and it was, Lolita, we'd like to offer you the MSL position at GSK. 3 years ago, Christy Callis' name came across my caller ID while I was sitting at my kitchen table. Lolita, I'd like you to be my first-line leader at Houston. I say that because it's like God knew I was going to need something as big as GSK and a region as big as Texas to handle something as big as leukemia. My name is Lolita Smith. I'm a mother of 3, a wife, a first-line leader in this great state of Texas, and I'm happy to tell you I am cancer-free, and I am a leader.
Lolita, I know you just talked about how much GSK means to you. You mean so much to GSK and to so many others in this room. Thank you for sharing your story and your courage and being the leader that you